I have been married to my wife for 8 years. We've always gotten along spectacularly from a social standpoint. Unfortunately, she came from a difficult home life with 2 hurtful parents who she was still living with when we met. She moved in with me after about 8 months of dating, partially just to escape what she was enduring. But that was fine. I was starting out a career after college, and having the company was really meaningful to me. During these first few months, we tried to take steps to get her help and move past her trauma. She started therapy, and we tried to get her on anxiety medications. At the same time, she was still depending on her parents for medical insurance, and her parents began to forget to provide her medications as a form of control, including important things like inhalers for her asthma. Due to the trauma and being far behind on life experience because of her parents, she was in no state to work. So we made the decision to get married much earlier than planned so she could be on my health insurance. It was a small courthouse ceremony, which we were fine with. We continued getting her care, but I noticed that things never changed. She would have days where she just felt so off that she couldn't get out of bed. Other days, she was stuck in the bathroom all day. Her sleep schedule drifted all over the place. We would try to go out and do things, and she'd have to back out because she felt sick. There was always something standing in the way of her becoming a functional member of society. We kept looking into these problems. Now that she had reliable medical care, she continued to be diagnosed with more and more chronic conditions. As of writing, she has been found to have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, polycystic ovary syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome, aspirin-exacerbated respiratory disease, asthma, and psoriasis. The list just kept growing, and it seemed like getting her into a functional state was just impossible, but she was finding out what was wrong and attempting treatment. That was good. I was willing to be patient with her and help her get better. I've always made enough money to support both of us. Overall, we live very comfortably. We hope to work through the issues, live a quiet life for now, and eventually have more adventures when her conditions were managed. But here we are, 8 years later, and things look almost exactly the same. Basically, her whole life is within the bounds of the house. She gets up at whatever random hour she wakes up, lays in bed for a while, watching videos on her phone, moves to the living room, and either plays video games on her computer, or lays on the couch and watches YouTube on the television, or reads things online on her phone. When I'm out there, we'll hang out and talk. Sometimes we play games or watch videos together. She'll move between the couch and computer a few times. Sometimes she's on a voice call with some friends. Then the day's over whenever she feels tired or sick and she goes back to bed. That's it, every single day. She wears the same outfits for days at a time when she bothers to wear clothes and showers once a month at most. I've tried to encourage her to take more showers, but she claims that it takes so much energy out of her to do so, and that you're not supposed to shower every day anyway. Sometimes the burden on her does seem to be true, where she's struggling afterward due to the heat or whatnot, but I think she doesn't give herself enough credit either. She definitely was a lot better at the beginning with that. Maybe not every day, but most days. Needless to say, she tends to have an odor. Of course, if someone is visiting, she is able to force herself to take a shower or uses enough dry shampoo to cover the smell. She doesn't do chores around the house, even when I have split them up with her and given specific, simple tasks. For instance, I gave her something small, like emptying the garbage cans in the bathrooms when they get full. Instead, she just lets them overflow and claims she forgot. Or maybe crushing soda cans for recycling. Oh, she's too tired to do that. The only place she cleans is her desk, and only when company is visiting. The way I interpret her failure to do things, it's like she has become ridiculously risk-averse. If there is even the slight possibility she won't be able to complete something, she won't start it. And when she does start it, that fear of not finishing makes her sick and then fulfills the prophecy. So she keeps doing less and less and never wants to expand her horizons. Trying to do things outside the house with her is like pulling teeth. Medical appointments, she's fine with. But dinner dates? The best we can do is cheap fast food, and she will probably want to leave as quickly as possible if she's even up to going there in the first place. Usually, she'd rather I just pick it up in the drive-thru and bring it home. Visiting family for holidays is a nightmare. She's always looking for an excuse not to go, and if we're there, I have to keep an eye on her the whole time to make sure she is okay. She'll constantly text me asking when we're going to leave, so I end up cutting things short. I have better family visits when I just go on my own, but then everyone asks why she isn't there. Regardless of the event, though, I have to prepare her days in advance. Constant reminders, trying to force her to realign her sleep schedule, and waking her up for things. She refuses to use alarms, making sure she showers. I can't even get her to take walks. It's too hot, it's too cold, too many bugs, too sunny, you name it. I've asked her before what happened to our plans from before. But now she says she isn't really all that interested in going out and doing things now. Neither of us are social butterflies, but based on how we talked in the early days, I thought she'd at least want to go on trips with just the two of us. See some museums, some natural wonders, silly tourist traps, that kind of thing. Or on a less significant note, just going to local events. I like having those special moments and sharing them. Not all the time, but enough to be significant. Instead, now my life starts to mirror hers. I'm always at home, don't go out, just doing things on the computer all day. Doing things on my own is an option, and I have, but the sharing of it is a big part of the enjoyment for me. I only have a few local friends, having moved to this area as an adult for work, and a lot of times they aren't able to do these things with me, because as we get into our 30s, it's stuff they'd rather do with their own partner and/or children. The problem is, as long as we're just at home, hanging out, having fun, and talking to each other, everything is great, and because we're home a lot, it ends up masking some of the issues. We get along so well in that respect and have a deep comfort with each other to just be ourselves, warts and all. We very rarely argue. She is never mean to me and always thankful for what I do. She always seems well-intentioned, and while I'm not the best at reading people, she always appears genuine to me. But I can no longer envision us doing anything more than being at home. No trips, no special events, no accomplishing things together. Hell, I can barely even picture us cooking dinner together. Whether it actually is her health or trauma or just some kind of internal unwillingness to grow, it's apparent that she isn't growing with me and probably never will. I know I have unintentionally enabled her this whole time. It has been the path of least resistance as I navigate the challenges of life and my own personal struggles. I haven't been able to decisively put my foot down. Every time I do, I end up backing off. When I have tried to have discussions about this, it always ends the same way. She starts sobbing, claims she's trying her best, and goes mute for days. So, of course, I stop trying to fight her. What's the point? I already know how it's going to end. Obviously, there's a mental health component here. Maybe the trauma really did break something inside her. Unfortunately, she seems resistant to treatment. Not as in she won't get treatment, but that none of the treatments are doing anything. She's been trying different medications for years now with nothing making her budge, with the exception of finally eliminating most of her trauma nightmares. That's a good thing, of course. She goes to therapy, but that doesn't seem to help either. In fact, once the therapist said that she didn't think she could make any more progress because my wife wasn't taking any action. That stopped the therapy for a while, but she has recently started going back. I'm still not seeing any action coming out of it. I wanted her to try eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy for her complex post-traumatic stress disorder. But she thinks it's pseudoscience, despite reading plenty of research showing it works. I can't force her to. She's an adult. Last year, I noticed my own executive function declining and sought help. During that time, I did a lot of introspection as well. I suddenly realized just how messed up this all was. I tried to tell her that I had long-term doubts unless we could turn this all around. It ended exactly as described above. We ended up trying couples therapy, which brought many good ideas to the table and reminded us of the idea of compromise. Maybe I can't get everything I want, but she can rise a bit to meet me in the middle. We tried to better divide chores, try to commit to doing things more often, trying to get her to shower even just once a week. She ended up reneging on every single thing. I began to lose the urge to fight again, but the thoughts keep dwelling in my head. I know that this situation isn't right and isn't what I want. I've watched my 20s slip away from me with very little to show for it, except working day in and day out. My 30s are starting to look the same, and if that happens, the rest of my life will likely follow the same pattern. As we get older, I will probably have to care more and more for her, beyond the usual aging concerns, and it will get harder for me. Is she doing this maliciously, taking advantage of my hospitality? Or is it just that her mental health is that bad? If she only actually loves me for being a meal ticket, she sure does a good job acting, but at the same time, her actions don't match up to her words. I feel backed into a corner with two options. One, keep the status quo and keep slowly trying to help her, as I keep shedding years off my life. Or two, divorce her, free myself of the burden, and try to start over. Which sounds simple enough, but I will likely still carry a great burden. I know she believes there are no options for her outside of this marriage. She said before in passing that if it ends, for instance, if I get in an accident and die, she's ending the life of herself. No ifs, ands, or buts. I know this is a classic sign of an hurtful partner. I also know that she probably isn't bluffing. She made attempts before as a teenager, before I met her. Can I risk that? I don't want her to die. And I know that if it's a direct result of my desires, that I will always consider myself responsible. To me, it would effectively be making a statement that I considered my life to be worth more than hers. She's also technically right that there's nowhere else to go. She has no college education, no work experience, no driver's license, no credit history, no local friends, no family she interacts with, and basically no exposure to adulting, so to speak. There's no other support network than what I provide. If I leave and she does stay alive, she has few options. She can't even go back to her parents. Not only are we estranged from them, but I understand that they are now both hospitalized and nearing the end of life due to poor lifestyle choices. I've tried to build a safety net for her just in case, but she just has no interest in it. Driving. I don't have anywhere to go, or I think I'll get distracted and crash. It's too dangerous. School, she just refuses to ever go back. Says she can't bear to do it again. There's an excuse for everything. I came into this leveraging my good position in life to help someone I loved who was in need. But at this point, it just feels like my gifts were squandered, maliciously or not. I set myself on fire to keep her warm, but my wick is just about burned out. As a friend said, it's like I am taking care of a child. I still love her, but less as a partner, and more as just someone close to me, like a family member. Yes, I know a spouse is technically a family member. You know what I mean? The romance is gone, and I can't see her as an equal like this. If she got better, would the feelings come back? Maybe, but my hopes are so low they might as well not exist. Is there any hope left to get her on the path to growth? If not, what can I do to help her find her footing after me and avoid having her death on my conscience? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. She is certainly taking advantage of you, but I'm sure it's not malicious. She is taking the path of least resistance, and as long as you're together, she will never push herself to overcome her anxieties and become more competent. I am speaking from experience on this. I was in your wife's role, a less extreme case though, with a partner I had in my 20s, when I had no adulting skills due to very emotionally immature and unstable parents. Looking back, it's so clear how we each held each other back without meaning to. Please look up over-functioning and under-functioning in relationships. It's a vicious cycle where the more you do for her, the less she will do for herself. Honestly, the best thing you could do for her is to divorce. It's literally the only thing that will force her to start stepping out of her comfort zone. When she's hungry, she'll be forced to go to the store. If she gets sick of the bus and Uber, she'll learn to drive. Just the social isolation and boredom of her life will force her to get outside, I promise you. And she will not be destitute. She will get some form of spousal support, since she currently has no skills or education. There is also aid available to people with disabilities, and that includes mental disabilities like depression. Contact a social worker in your area to ask about this. The point is, there is no need for her to harm herself if you divorce, and if she does, it's not your fault. She's not a hopeless case, even if you both are convinced of it right now. P.S. After the partner I was codependent on and I broke up, I went back to school, got my degree, something I had convinced myself I was incapable of, and even went to a graduate program overseas. I would still be stuck if we had stayed together. Comment 2. I am disabled. I have a lot of constant health issues that mean I can't always do things that other people can. I am on disability, which is a very hard process and requires tons of doctors to agree unequivocally that she is not capable of working any kind of job now or in the future. She would not qualify for disability. Both the fact that she has never tried to work and that her therapist would report that she is not making an effort in therapy would ruin any case. I do EMDR, and it's super helpful, but it's also hard, and it sounds like she wouldn't engage in a way that would make it work. I would look up some information on learned helplessness. I had a friend who was similar, and I spent so much time and money trying to help her get out of her hole before I realized that she really orchestrated things for her to be there. You keep pushing her to change, but she's telling you she is where she wants to be. And if she wants to be there, let her be there. But stop supporting her financially and emotionally. Stop reminding her to do things, pushing her to shower, and stop giving her access to any money and just pay the bills. And give her an ultimatum that she needs to find a way to contribute to finances and the household in the next 6 months, or you will leave. Because the other thing is, what if something happens to you? If you die, if you become disabled, if you lose your job? As a child, I put all our stability into having parents to provide for us, but she has set up her adulthood to be 100% dependent on you forever. The time to figure out what to do isn't then. It's now. Now for the update. The other day, I came home from work and found Emma on the couch, scrolling her phone like usual. But man, she was really zoned out this time. I could barely get her to say anything. I tried chatting her up while I was in the kitchen prepping dinner, but she just kept giving me these one-word answers. Not even a hello or how was work, you know? So I'm checking out the fridge and it's like super empty in there. I asked her if she was planning to go grocery shopping anytime soon. You know, the usual stuff, since she hadn't gone in like forever. She just shrugs and says she doesn't feel up to it. Like, okay, cool. Guess that's my job now. So I decided to hit the grocery store myself. Figured I'd bring home something nice to cook. Maybe a steak or something. I could use some red meat in my life. While I'm at the store, I bump into my younger sister, Lily. We chat for a bit and she casually mentions seeing Emma out and about last week. My heart sank at that. Because when she said that, I'm thinking, wait, what? She was out? Like, walked out of the house? She seemed fine and was shopping and laughing with some friend. My sister couldn't remember the friend's name. Of course not, right? Just my luck. So I'm back home, unloading groceries, and I can't shake this uneasy feeling about Emma being out shopping and laughing. It's been like months since she's done anything other than sit on the couch or lounge in bed. A few days go by, and my parents invite us over for dinner. I kinda don't want to go because I'm feeling all weird about Emma and stuff, but I don't want to worry them either. So we go. Dinner's fine, we share some stories and all that, and my dad brings up this recent family event that I totally forgot about. I mention I haven't seen Emma in a while outside the house, which is kinda true. I mean, she's been out, but not with me. And then my mom casually mentions that she saw Emma at this local cafe with a woman, and I'm like, what? I ask for more specifics, but typical parents don't really remember the details. After dinner, I pull Emma aside to ask about this cafe visit. Like I'm trying to be casual about it, but I can't help it. She brushes it off and says she went to grab coffee with a friend. I'm like, cool, what's the friend's name? And she gets all evasive on me. Days pass, and I'm noticing Emma's acting different. She's secretive about her phone, which she never was, and she avoids talking about her day. I'm getting more and more anxious about this. One afternoon, I find this receipt for a hotel stay in her purse, so I confront her about it. She admits she went to the hotel, but insists it was just for a day trip for herself. I'm like, what the heck is a day trip to a hotel? I decide to check the hotel's website for any recent bookings under her name. And guys, I find out she booked a room for 2 nights. 2 nights! The next day, my brother Jake visits to check in on me. We have this casual conversation about family and relationships. He mentions he's heard rumors about Emma from some mutual acquaintances, and I'm like, this is not good. He's talking, and I'm just thinking about how I need to follow Emma the next time she leaves the house. One Saturday, she leaves with a different woman, and I'm freaking out. I follow them to the same hotel from the receipt. I see them entering the hotel together. I wait outside the hotel for hours, taking a picture of them entering the hotel just to have proof. After they leave, I confront Emma at home with the photo. I'm calm and collected, not freaking out. I told her I'll be filing for divorce. I honestly have no idea what's going to happen next. She just stared at me with this blank expression and didn't even try to deny anything. I'm feeling so messed up right now, like I can't even think straight. I've just been going through the motions at work and at home, but I know I gotta get my stuff sorted out soon. Everyone's telling me I deserve better, but I just feel lost and kinda empty. I'll probably go for the divorce, but I don't even know what's gonna happen with us living together, and I really don't want this to drag on for too long, you know? Anyway, thanks to everyone who's been supportive so far. I'm not really sure if I'll have anything else to share after this, but we'll see. Edit. I want to clarify that Emma and I have separate finances, which is why she has her own bank account and money to spend. I am not in charge of her finances or any decisions regarding her funds. Also, I have been the one doing the cooking and cleaning since we moved in together. Emma has not been doing those chores for a long time. She has been doing better with her mental health since we got married, just not as much as I would like. She still struggles a lot, but to answer the question, yes, she is still struggling. Am I the idiot for confronting my friend about her absence after 20 years of friendship? Just to be clear, it's not just us, it's our local friend group in general. We've known her for nearly 20 years, and she has always been down to hang out or come to dinner or go to a bar. We saw her almost once a week for those 20 years. So it's been a bit strange that we haven't seen her for the last 10 weeks now. She still says stuff on our group chat, sends memes or funny stories at work, so it's not like she has shut us out completely. But when we are talking about meeting up, she just says she can't go. Every single time. It's very obvious something has changed, and it's sort of changed the dynamic of the friend group a bit. She was always a very funny, charming, great person to be around, and it feels like people are genuinely less likely to come around if she isn't there. She was sort of the center, or at least a center, of the friend group. We are both a bit upset by this. She has been arguably our closest friend for the last 20 years, and we haven't seen her in so long. It legitimately feels like something is missing from our life. The weird thing is, we've seen her husband more than we've seen her. We had a movie night 2 weeks ago, and he came without her. He just said she had work at 5 a.m. the next day, so she was going to sleep early. To be fair, she does work at 5 a.m. on Wednesdays. We also saw him at a bar a few weeks before that. My wife wants to find out what is going on. She wants to basically confront her and demand to know why she isn't coming out. I feel like that is the wrong move. If she wanted us to know, we would know. We don't need to impose on her like that. My wife seems to have this view that she owes us an explanation after 20 years of friendship. But that isn't how that works, in my view. You owe your close friends some things, but we don't even know what she owes us. We are totally in the dark on what this is. This could be, I don't know, a cancer diagnosis that she is trying to keep secret or something. It could be something serious. As I said before, if she wanted to tell us, she would. Anyways, I just don't know how to talk to my wife about this. It's a bit of a sensitive topic now. What do we do? To add, I am not originally an English speaker, so maybe I used confront the wrong way. She wants to approach her, not aggressively or anything like that. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. The idea that you need to confront her and your wife feeling she is owed an explanation makes this seem more awkward to you than it really needs to be. Just send her a message asking how she has been. If she is up for a chat, tell her you have noticed she isn't hanging out much lately and you wondered if everything is okay. She might brush you off and tell you she has had a lot on, but no problems. Or she might explain what the problem is. It's not a confrontation, it's just a friend checking on a friend and letting them decide if they want to open up. If they don't, and that is fine. Comment 2. What is wrong with both of you? This person is supposedly your close friend of 20 years. She has drastically changed her normal behavior with no explanation, and not one of you cares about whether she is okay. You are so uninterested in whether she might need support that you want to basically pretend you don't notice anything wrong, and your wife wants to confront her like she has been wronged. Over 2 months, and not even I have really missed you and want you to know that I am here if you are willing to talk or need any kind of support. Some friends you are. Now, for the update. 1 week after I posted, my wife decided to call my friend to check in. She picked up but sounded so distant and just kept insisting she was fine and just busy. My wife asked her about her recent absence from our gatherings, and she just brushed it off. She said she'd been swamped with work and family stuff. It felt like she was avoiding the question. My wife noticed that she never even mentioned her husband during the call, which was kind of weird, right? Like, if you're busy with family stuff, you'd at least mention your husband. So, after the call, we decided to invite her and her husband over for dinner. We figured it would be a relaxed way to talk and catch up. We made a casual meal, pasta with some veggies. We set the table in our living room since we didn't have a dining room. It was cozy, to be honest. They arrived late, looking flustered. She was wearing this oversized sweater, and her husband had a baseball cap on, which was odd for him since he usually dresses pretty sharp. During dinner, the conversation felt forced and awkward. My wife tried asking her about work, and she just changed the subject to how delicious the food was. I mean, I love my wife's cooking, but come on, let's talk. My friend's husband seemed uncomfortable too. He kept checking his phone, which he never does. My wife tried to lighten the mood with some jokes, but they just fell flat. No one was laughing. After dinner, my friend excused herself to the bathroom. Then her husband told me about her recent behavior. He said she's been really distant, and they've been arguing a lot at home. It broke my heart to hear that. My friend came back from the bathroom looking visibly upset. My wife, trying to be the peacemaker, suggested we all play a board game to ease things up. That's when things got weirder. During the game, my friend suddenly got a call and stepped outside to take it. Her husband looked frustrated and admitted he didn't know how to help her. It's like he was at his wits' end. After the game, my wife and I noticed my friend hadn't come back inside. I went to check on her and found her sitting on the front porch, crying. She admitted that things have been tough, but didn't want to talk about it. Then she said she felt trapped and overwhelmed. She mentioned needing space, but didn't clarify if that meant from us or her marriage. I went back inside, leaving them to talk privately. Her husband seemed grateful for the time alone and thanked me for understanding. A few days later, my wife received a message from my friend saying she needs time to figure things out. It was short and kind of cold, honestly. Then a week later, my friend's husband invited us for drinks at a local bar. We went, hoping to gather more insight into the situation. At the bar, he revealed that my friend has been struggling with her mental health. He mentioned that they are considering counseling but are unsure about the next steps. It was a relief to hear that he's willing to get help, even if she's not on board yet. Later on, my friend arrived at the bar, looking more composed but still distant. She acknowledged her struggles and hinted at wanting to take a break from some friendships. We all just sat there, kind of stunned. It felt like she was giving us a warning. We decided to stay supportive while respecting her need for distance. It was hard to swallow, but we figured it's what she needs right now. To answer a few questions, my friend and her husband have been married for 10 years without any major issues before this. No one in our group is aware of any affair, but her husband's behavior has been a bit odd lately. We think he might be hiding something, but we're not sure. Regarding her mental health, She hasn't shared a specific diagnosis, but she did mention feeling overwhelmed and anxious. Counseling is still being discussed between them. Am I the idiot for dreading going home to my wife, who can't handle our puppy and flirts with other men? I'm having a really hard time, and I don't know how to process the feelings I'm having at the moment. But I've spent the last 2 weeks away from my wife, and it's been an absolute blast. All of my stress has melted away. I'm less depressed, and I'm kind of dreading going home. I love my wife. We are partners, best friends, and incredibly close. We have gone through a lot over the last 10 years since meeting, and when we are having fun, I have an absolute blast. We laugh, we play games, and we go on adventures together. But she's also the biggest source of stress in my life, and it's really wearing me down. In general, I am a pretty relaxed person and deal with problems as they come. But she is constantly stressed, and frankly, she takes it out on me. Just as an example, we have a new puppy. He's an 11-month-old black lab golden retriever, so he's a handful. It can be stressful, sure, but she has a breakdown almost every day over the smallest things that he does. Honestly, for an 11-month-old dog, he's incredibly well behaved. He pulls on walks, which I'm working on, but other than that, he doesn't chew. He sleeps most of the day while we both work from home, and he's a very, very sweet little, 65-pound dog. I love him to pieces, and I do the majority of the work to look after him. I get up every morning at 7 a.m. to walk him, and I do his midday and evening walks as well. I do most of the play and training, but the moment he slips up, she spirals out of control and catastrophizes. She breaks down with stress and gets really angry. It's not proportional to the stress of the dog. We are both in the arts. We met during an improv class and both have projects we actively work on: comedy, clowning, shows, etc. With that said, we don't make any money from these things. We both have day jobs. It can be hard because we both want to do artistic things full-time, but can't at the moment. I'm maybe a little closer to making that happen than her, but still need other work to support myself. Money is a constant stress for her, despite us doing well, saving a decent amount, and living full lives in a great city. Typically over the last 5 years, I've earned more than her, but she now earns around $90,000 and I earn $70,000. I'm moving to a position that will be $100,000 very soon. We have no kids and don't want kids. We live in a 1-bedroom apartment in a nice area. We save. We have a decent chunk ready for a house deposit or whatever. Even still, it feels like money stress is a black hole for her that needs to be filled. It's constant stress to a debilitating level, and I find it really hard. When she is super stressed, she gets into a pattern of unreasonableness. Every time I offer to help, she snaps at me. I ask, "What can I do to help? Do you want to vent? Do you want solutions? What will help right now?" It only ever makes it worse, and she takes it out on me, storming around the house and snapping at me. It makes me feel so bad. I've told her that I hate being snapped at. She apologizes, and it happens again. She says things that make me feel like a tiny idiot. I've asked her multiple times if she wants to try therapy. Over the last 5 years, I've gently reminded her of the option, often to be met with a snapping comment. The last few months, she has gone to a couple of sessions, but it doesn't feel very committed. Now, for an update. Over the last 2 weeks, I've been away shooting a friend's movie on the other side of the country, and I'm just realizing how relaxed and calm I feel, even in the middle of what should be a very intense couple of weeks. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny budget indie film that my friend has written and produced, and it's, by all accounts, a stressful environment. Egos, 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. days, high-pressure situations and tempers, but I feel so much less stressed here than just a day about the house with my wife. I feel awful about it, but I'm really enjoying my new independence. I'm loving life. I'm in a small house in the middle of nowhere on a single bed, but I'm anxious to be going home. I'm feeling really guilty about the whole thing. At home, I'm having suicidal thoughts. Nothing serious, just the constant mantra of, "I don't want to be around anymore," or "I don't even want to be around." I've struggled with mental health issues before. I have a mild amount of depression and anxiety that manifests as obsessive-compulsive disorder. But the last few months, everything has been slipping a little. I'm on medication and going back to therapy to process everything that I'm feeling regarding my life and relationship. Now I'm out here, with some independence. I feel like that mantra has gone. I haven't thought about it in days. I feel so guilty writing this, but I'm also finding it hard to be attracted to her. We rarely have intimacy, maybe once a month at most, and that is really difficult. I'm constantly developing crushes on other people. I never act on them. But deep down, I know for sure that I just desperately want to connect with a person like that again. I'm sure I've missed some nuance in the above. I'm really tired. I've never done one of these before. Am I missing some huge blind spot here? What am I not getting? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. She needs to deal with her massive anxiety issues. It must be exhausting to exist in a constant state of panic and stress about things that aren't actually problems. It's also kind of insulting to hear your salary and know that she is still constantly complaining about money and stressing out. So many people, including myself, make so much less than her and have real things to stress about. But anyway, if she won't deal with this in therapy, with medication, and by taking it seriously, then you should seriously consider leaving. People have to treat their own mental health issues, so there's nothing you can do in this situation. Comment 2. Everyone is saying therapy, but she needs to try out medication immediately. While my anxiety isn't quite so severe, it was having a profound impact on my day-to-day life and relationships. I'm on a fairly low dose of Lexapro, and it takes the edge off enough that I can be more mindful of my reactions and notice thought spirals before they drive me mad. Little nuisances don't linger and fester the way they used to. I understand that lining up doctor's appointments can be intimidating, but there are online services now that make the process almost too easy. Looking at you, hers. Good luck to you both. Now for the update. I returned home after 2 weeks away, and I felt a mix of relief and anxiety. Honestly, I was ready to get away from my life, but also didn't want to leave this other peaceful one I had made for myself. The moment I walked in, the puppy jumped on me like I was a long-lost soldier returning home. It felt good, but then I caught sight of my wife sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She looked up, smiled weakly, and said she missed me, but the atmosphere was just heavy. You could feel the tension. We sat down for dinner, and I noticed she had gone the extra mile and prepared my favorite meal, but she seemed distracted the entire time. It was like she wasn't really there. As we ate, she shared that she had a rough day, but when I asked for details, she brushed it off. Just a rough day. I mentioned I'd been working on the film and how it helped clear my head, but she didn't engage with that topic at all. It felt like she was just going through the motions. After dinner, I suggested a walk with the puppy to lighten the mood, but she declined, saying she was too tired. I let it go, but I could tell she just wanted to go back to scrolling on her phone. Later that week, I found myself at a family dinner for my mom's birthday, where my siblings were present. My brother Jake announced his wife was pregnant, and the room erupted in cheers. Everyone was super excited, and I felt a twinge of jealousy as my wife sat silently, not even smiling. I was trying to be happy for them, but I couldn't help it. I attempted to involve her in conversations, but she just seemed disinterested and distracted. My sister-in-law asked when we were planning to have kids, and my wife's expression darkened. I attempted to joke about needing a bigger house first, but my wife shot me a look that pretty much said, "Shut up." After the dinner, we drove home in silence, the weight of unspoken words really heavy in the air. The next day, I noticed a stray text from her phone that read, "Can't wait to see you," from an unknown number. I asked her about it, and she hesitated before saying it was just a work friend. A few days later, we attended a friend's wedding where the atmosphere was light and fun. My wife seemed to drink more than usual, laughing with friends. I hadn't seen her like that in a long time. I caught her chatting closely with a guy from her work, and they seemed to be laughing a bit too much. When I approached, she abruptly stepped back and offered me a forced smile. After the wedding, I confronted her about the text and her behavior, and she just got defensive. She accused me of not trusting her, which escalated into a heated argument in the car. I pulled over, and we both sat in silence, neither of us willing to speak first. The next day, she left early for work without saying goodbye, which was unusual. I decided to check her phone, feeling uneasy, and saw more messages from that unknown number. They were flirty and included a plan to meet up for coffee, which made my stomach drop. I confronted her again that evening, and she denied it, saying it was a misunderstanding. I demanded she show me the messages, but she refused, insisting I was just being paranoid. Our arguments became more frequent, and the stress was overwhelming in our home. A week later, we attended a family barbecue, where my wife seemed more withdrawn than usual. My dad tried to lighten the mood by asking about our plans. He had no idea what he was walking into. She snapped at him, and I felt embarrassed and frustrated. I ended up stepping away to cool off. After the barbecue, I got a call from my mom, who expressed concern about my wife's behavior. She suggested I try talking to her about it, but I felt like I had already done that to no avail. The following weekend, we had a long talk that ended with her saying she needed space. A few days later, I found out she had been meeting that guy from work. She admitted to having lunch with him, saying it was just friendly. Yeah, right. My gut knew otherwise. I told her this was unacceptable and that we needed to figure things out. She reluctantly agreed to counseling, but I could tell she was still distant. Mini update. Things have progressed and worsened since my last post. My wife and I are now living separately in our house, with her in the guest room. The counseling sessions have not resulted in any significant changes. She is still seeing this guy from her work, and I'm struggling to get her to understand how much it's affecting me. Even though she claims it's just a friendship, the fact that she's still meeting him while we're trying to work on our issues feels like a betrayal. I've started to look into divorce options, but it's a tough decision. I just don't know what to do anymore. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.